Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The NFL owners' meetings happened Tuesday in Florida. Our guy Ross Jackson was there for LouisianaSports.net. Kellen Moore, or Ellen Moore, met with reporters there for about 45 minutes. And they covered a lot of ground. But the thing that I was really interested in, where they kind of zeroed in a little bit, was quarterback. And not just Derek Carr, because I think we all understand now with the restructure of the contract, like Derek Carr is going to be in New Orleans for 2025. All of the scenarios that some are suggesting about a trade, potentially, none of that makes sense. Yes, you could trade Derek Carr post-June 1 and save $50 million this year. That doesn't do you a lick of good. You've already done the damage to your cap for the future years, trying to get under the cap this year to spend in free agency. Like, a post-June 1 trade for Derek Carr does nothing for you whatsoever. So Derek Carr is going to be on your roster in 2025. It's interesting, though, about what's beyond him, in particular because of how aggressively the Saints have been pursuing quarterbacks in this draft class. They were at the Ole Miss Pro Day looking at Jackson Dart. They're going to host Quinn Ewers on the top 30. They had dinner with Quinn Ewers. They've met individually with Kyle McCord of Syracuse. Like, they are very clearly doing a lot of due diligence on quarterbacks. And Kellen Moore, can you play number 5, please? He was talking about planning for the future at quarterback.
I think every team in the NFL is always trying to bring in quarterbacks and develop them under any circumstances. So everyone does homework every year on quarterbacks. It's a very valuable position, and so obviously we feel like we have Derek, who's played a ton of football and we feel great about, and then we have certainly our organization has invested in quarterbacks the last few years with Spencer, Jake, and then Ben, and so we got a number of guys that we're excited to develop as well.
So Ben, of course, is Ben DiNucci, Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener. That's 3. Derek Carr's 4. And if you go draft a quarterback, that would be 5. The writing would be on the wall for Ben DiNucci at that point. But maybe the more important part of what Kellen Moore said, Ellen Moore said on Tuesday, that's never going to get old. Maybe it might get a little old, but I still love it, was the fact that, remember, last year, the Saints went into the offseason or into training camp with a battle between Rattler and Haener for the number 2 job. Ellen Moore said pretty definitively, they ain't doing that this year.
In almost every circumstance, you want to have it defined going into the season. You got to know who your backup quarterback is and just understand there's a progression there. And, not going to say never ever, but, feel like it's pretty strong just because of the reps in season. You have to have it set in a certain way. Really, the third guy in a regular season only gets so many reps. It's hard to have 3 guys.
Okay, that's fascinating. That's your coach telling you that in almost every scenario, you want to have your backup quarterback defined going into the season. So right now, there's 2 guys there. Ben DiNucci's going to be out, but there's 2 guys there he didn't draft. So none of us knows what he thinks about Rattler and Haener. We know what the last staff felt because Rattler beat out Haener, but he didn't draft either of those guys. So what if they go into this draft and they take a quarterback? Well, you better believe at least one of those guys, Rattler, Haener, are gone. It's hard to imagine carrying them all into camp. Is there any trade value whatsoever? Maybe. You're talking about a couple of day 3 picks that haven't played. It's hard to imagine you getting any type of resource, anything really of value at all for those players, either of those players. So that's part of this, to see what the Saints do in the draft. The most fascinating part of this, though, I think, is going to be at the top of the draft. Now, I've given you my opinion on it plenty. I would love Quinn Ewers, a late day 2, early day 3 pick. If you want to use a day 3 pick on Kyle McCord, fine. I've given you the nickel slot analogy a ton. Drafting quarterbacks late is like the nickel slots. Low risk, potential high reward. You keep feeding the nickel slot till you hit a jackpot. Keep taking one every year until you hit. And you know the list of guys. I had someone message me earlier today say, You're not finding a Tom Brady in round 6. No kidding. You're not finding the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm not looking for Tom Brady, jackleg. I'm looking for a guy that can be a starter in this league. In our league. That's what I'm looking for.
In our league.
That's what I'm looking for. You ain't got that. Could you find Dak in round 4? Could you find Kirk Cousins in round 5? Could you find Brock Purdy in round 7? Could you find Tony Romo, undrafted free agent? I'm not telling you you're going to find Tom freaking Brady. Can I find someone that can be a viable starter and help you win and get your cap back in order? That's what I'm looking for in the mid to late rounds at quarterback. So you want to take a flyer on these guys every year? Fine. It's a whole bunch of dudes you take in the draft every year that are never making the team. So yeah, I'm going to be good with that for perpetually until they find a franchise quarterback that's going to be here for a decade. The other part of the conversation, though, is the top of the draft. And the name that keeps kind of popping up more and more is Shedeur Sanders. Because if you follow the draft buzz, all the buzz is that he's slipping on draft boards. Who knows what to believe? This is the time in the draft where everybody talks crap and agents plant stories and you never know what to believe. And there's always this guy 10 years ago made a Twitter post that somebody found offensive. Who knows? All right. Anyway, so you're hearing that stuff about Shedeur now if he'll draft. I don't know. But here's what I'll say definitively. Is that at 9, if Shedeur falls to 9, I'm totally okay drafting him at 9. I'd be over the moon drafting Shedeur Sanders at 9. Trading up to take Shedeur, I would not be okay with that. Because I look at you look at precedent, right? For example, the Niners. The Niners, when they took Trey Lance third, went up 9 spots. They went from 12 to 3. The Saints are at 9, so they'd have to go up 6 spots from 9 to 3. But they gave up, the Niners did 3 1s and a 3. They did a pick swap, their next 2 years' first-round picks, and a 3. For the Saints, who are as bad a roster as they are, you don't have, you need all of your draft capital to get younger and more affordable. You can't go giving up that many picks for the shot at a quarterback. Like if you were doing that for a proven, established young veteran, like if you were doing that for Joe Burrow, in a millisecond you do it because you know what you got. The draft is still a risk to a degree. Look at Trey Lance. Look at Bryce Young. I mean, the Panthers a couple of years ago did that. They went from 9 to 1 for Bryce Young. So if they could go back and undo it, you think they would? Better believe it. They'd probably keep Baker Mayfield around. Guys who won the division the past couple of years. Anyway. But it's interesting, too, about Shedeur because, with all of this conversation now, this Chase Daniel clip from about 2 months ago is resurfaced. So Chase Daniel, the former Saints quarterback, does a podcast called The Facility. And this was January 31st. So remember, this is before the Super Bowl. All right? So this is 2 months ago. Chase Daniel, I guess that's 2 months. Yeah, sorry, 3 months ago. Yeah. End of January?
It was January 31st.
Then
into February,
okay,
March.
Yeah. So 2 months ago, math, bro. You want to diagram a sentence, I'm your guy. You want to do long division? I ain't your guy. Anyway, Chase Daniel, 2 months ago, this was 2 months ago, said this about Shedeur and the Saints.
These are the top 10 picks, but who needs a quarterback? Titans, Browns, Giants, Raiders, Jets, Saints. If you really look at all those franchises, bro, all of them are not great right now. If you go to the Saints and you sit behind Carr for a year and you run, if Kellen Moore is the head coach, I think that's the best situation for Shedeur. Like to not rush him on, not that he's saying he can't have success, right? But I don't know if any of those top 6, 7 picks are great situations for Shedeur. Because when you get drafted, I agree with wholeheartedly what Shay said. All it takes is one GM to like you and one team to fall in love with you. All 31 others in the first round could hate you. But if they really feel a certain way about you, they will draft you, regardless of what Deion says. I'm just saying, if you look at the top 10 picks, it's just the Saints, for me, make a ton of sense.
So I'm with it. For a lot of people will push back on that. I love Shedeur. I've loved him for 2 years at Colorado for a lot of reasons I've ticked off. He got crushed behind a terrible offensive line, never complained. Super athletic, really good passer. Was hard to even believe, but in the shadows of Travis Hunter, and still was awesome. He's Prime's kid. He's made a ton of money. He continues to go to school and work real hard. Like, money hasn't changed him or his work ethic or any of those things. Excelled at that level. Like, got the pedigree with being Deion's kid. Like, I'd love all of that. You could say, well, you have the looming father, like a LeVar Ball situation. I don't see it like that at all. I mean, Deion has held his players accountable, including his children. Like, I think it checks a ton of boxes. If Shedeur's there at 9, they take him. I'm over the moon. What I'm not okay with is giving up 3 ones to move up in this draft to take a quarterback. Like, that I'm not good with. There's literally 2 scenarios in this draft where I will be pissed. Trading up from 9 or taking Ashton Genty at 9. Those are the and it's not that Genty's a bad player. It's just the Saints have so many needs, and there's no position that depreciates faster than running back. Like, that's not helping you win. So that's the only 2 scenarios. Literally anything else they do at 9, I'm going to be okay with. But if you move up from 9 or draft after Ashton Genty, I'm going to be pissed. Everything else I'd be good with. But the most fascinating thing to see is Kellen Moore sitting here telling you are always evaluating quarterbacks and always looking to get better, and they are actively pursuing quarterbacks in this draft. And if that's the case, and they want their backup solidified by the time they start training camp, what does that mean for Rattler and Haener? Because if you go draft a quarterback, you better believe they're hitching their wagon to their guy behind Derek Carr. And then you make that decision in 2026 after this season. But the Rattler-Haener experiment could be over if, in fact, that's the way that they want to go in this draft by taking a quarterback anywhere in the draft. Something to watch. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.